Hello my friends and welcome back. Happy Wednesday to you, the backbone of the week as we call it in Estonia. I guess you use the same thing. You have made it past half of this week. But I want to begin today's video by thanking someone very special. In about a week I'll be going to Ukraine and I'll be delivering a lot of drones. And part of the reasons why I'm able to do this is a man called Dale Gensch. Dale donated a big amount of money to buy drones. He donated enough to buy 15 drones for Ukrainian units, which could translate up to 15 destroyed Russian tanks. Dale told me a story about his daughter, Lex, and his daughter's boyfriend, Alex Crawford. Now, Alex is an Afghanistan veteran. So on behalf of me, an Estonian, a country which is free thanks to the United States military projection into Northern Eastern Europe, I want to say thank you, Alex. Thank you, Alexander Crawford, for your service. I've heard that you have guilt for not going to fight in Ukraine, but I do hope the guilt resides. You have done enough. Thank you for your service. And thanks to men like Alex and Dale Gensch, who do their part, Estonia is free and Ukraine will be free. Thank you both. My friends, I want to show you a speech from European Parliament and it's pure gold, it's pure truth, and I agree with every word of it. Let's watch it. It's 1.5 minutes.
Yes, thank you, President. First of all, I have to tell you, I have enough of this debates here where the Commission and the Council comes here and says, as long as it takes, we're going to support Ukraine. But we doesn't really support Ukraine on military. The reality, to give only one example, artillery shells. The Russians have 3 million a year. 2 million that they produce themselves, 1 million that they received from North Korea. And we are not capable, you say soon, what is soon? We are not capable to even produce 1 million of these shells in a year. That's the reality on the ground. If F-16s are not ready, it will take 6 months. Long-range missiles, there is a refusal by the German Chancellor to give them for the moment. Air defense, Patriots, not enough are delivered. And the reason why that is, for one simple reason. That is, there is no European defense community, no common procurement. That's the real disaster of Europe. And that is what I hope, sorry, President, you're going to decide on the 1st February now. Instead of giving in to Orban, make a serious military package for Ukraine. It's a question of democracy.
I agree with every last word he just said. Everything. I stand behind this message. This is why I didn't interrupt this video. Also, I wanted you to see it fully. This is our situation in Europe. We're big talkers, most of the countries. Well, I cannot say we, because Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Finland and Poland, everybody next to Russia, they have no illusions. We are disillusioned. But countries in Western Europe, there are more words than actions. Of course, there are exceptions. We're talking about Britain, we're talking about France and Germany. All of these countries have given immense amounts of aid to Ukraine, but it's still nothing compared to what they could do and what Ukraine is doing for them. See, the way I see it, Ukraine is really fighting for all of Europe. It's the shield between terror and peace in Europe. The shield is Ukraine. The only reason in 50 years we will have freedom is right now Ukraine fighting. So we should give more as common Europe. I say we, I mean combined Europe. I know Estonia has given more than we can and we should for our own security. I wish other countries follow suit. I know some people will call me crazy for this, but Estonia has given 33% of our military GDP to Ukraine. I think every country in Europe should do that because European countries have military GDPs because of one thing, Russia. Who else is going to attack them? What? France is not going to attack Germany. UK is not going to attack Spain. It's Russia. So you have built up these armies for decades. You have this military spending. Now is the reason to spend it. Their only reason of existence is now, for this moment, to give it to Ukraine, to actually use it for the purpose it was created for. 1/3 of every country's military might should go to Ukraine. That's what I think. I'll read you a report that puts French in the good light. The French president, the president of France announced his intention to visit Kiev to finalize the bilateral security guarantees agreement with Ukraine. Additionally, France plans to provide Ukraine with additional 40 Scalp missiles, which are Storm Shadow missiles. This step is very important for Ukraine at the moment for stabilizing its long-term defense capabilities. Ukraine's international position is strengthening, and it becomes more difficult for Russia to manipulate topics regarding Ukraine's future status. Now, this is very important, and it is not only paper pushing, but this is real actions, because Britain already, the UK, signed a bilateral defense treaty, security guarantees treaty with Ukraine. And as I said in the previous video, this is not some Chamberlainian deal. This is nothing like it, because Britain right now is training an immense amount of Ukrainian troops. They're giving immense amount of weapons, support, Storm Shadow missiles, which are very expensive. So this is already, by that definition, it's already not a Chamberlainian deal. Actions are happening. Also, long-term security guarantees are the thing Putin fears the most. His goal was to push Ukraine out of the NATO possibility and out of the EU possibility. Now, even without the NATO or the EU, if Ukraine has these security guarantees, this ties Ukraine with the West in the long term, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years into the future, which is Putin's worst nightmare and the best scenario for Ukraine. So these security guarantees, they're a good intention, but unless they're supported by actions, they're nothing. But we see UK and France supporting these guarantees with actions. Talking about these actions, French President Emmanuel Macron announced in a press conference that France will be sending more 40 Scalp missiles. Now, one of these missiles costs £2 million, 2.5 million USD, so they're extremely expensive, but they have an insane range and they make an enormous kaboom, and they're very accurate. So these missiles do hunt very high-value targets. We're talking about generals, we're talking about headquarters, we're talking about ships. That's the goal of these missiles. And if I say actions have to follow these security guarantees, giving missiles like that, giving weaponry like that in the amount of hundreds of millions, these are the actions. And I'm glad to see UK and France are following suit. Now it's Germany's turn. Now it's German time. And Spain's time. And Italy's time. My friends, now just to give an eye candy to you, because we've been talking a lot here, just to give a little bit of a visual pleasure. Now this is a 15-second video of a Ukrainian drone filming a Russian drone. Both of them are civilian DJI drones, as far as I can understand. And the Russian drone is a grenade dropping DJI drone, a very common thing in Ukraine. What does the Ukrainian drone do? Welcome to Drone Wars, my friends. Goes in, smashes the Russian drone goes to the ground, and it's demilitarized, and now, bada boom! We see it's knocked out cold by its own grenade. Drone wars right now, going on. Very cool to see stuff like that. My friends, the shooting down of the Russian air mobile command post, the A-50 or the Russian AWACS, the saga is not over. This is a huge loss. It's comparable to the loss of Moskva, the cruise ship and the leading ship of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. More information has surfaced. Russian Ministry of Defense has been silent officially. They have not said anything. But Russian Telegram and social media chatter now has been sharing the version that Russians themselves shot it down. Blue on blue fire, or as one of you said it in the comments, red on red fire. Now this seems to be more acceptable for the Russian side than the fact that Ukraine shot it down. In reality, Ukraine did shoot it down. The thing is, at the beginning of war, where Russia used its air force very actively, Ukraine shot down a lot of planes. And after some time of this pattern, Russian pilots were starting to disobey orders and not flying the zones where they knew Ukrainian Air Force was effective. This was before Russia pulled back its air force. Now we're seeing the same thing. Azov Sea was a full Russian Air Force superiority area until the A-50, the Russian AWACS, was shot down. How does the shooting down of this most valuable Russian air asset affect the Russian pilots' motivation to go and fly missions? It does, big time. We already have reports of them refusing to fly over the Azov Sea. And if they cannot fly over the Azov Sea, over the southern Ukraine or eastern Ukraine, over the southern part of the Black Sea, where can they fly? Only in Russia, and then again, and that also 100 kilometers from the Russian border with Ukraine. So this shooting down is not only losing one valuable plane, it's losing about 150 kilometers of air superiority over the Azov Sea, because the pilots refuse to go into the area, and now we know that Ukrainian anti-air capabilities reach the Azov Sea. This has a great grand effect on the Russian Air Force capability to project force. It's not only one plane, it's something much more bigger. Now, my friends, I would read you something I would call the Finnish shenanigans. Now, I have great respect for my northern brother, Finland, the brother nation to Estonia, and they understand our struggle, we understand their struggle. They had the winter war, we were fully occupied. But now, like in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and also in Finland, Russia floods these countries with money, searching for companies who would circumvent the sanctions, who would bypass the sanctions. And also I'll read you a story from Finland about it. And I do have to say a disclaimer, it's not a blame against Finland. I do have to say we have the same issue in Estonia and all other countries next to Russia, because it's Russia who is the reason for the bad, not the Finnish or Estonians. A groundbreaking investigation reveals a hidden network in Finland securely fueling Russia's military might. Companies in nondescript metal sheds across Finland have been exporting a significant amount of military equipment to Russia. Finnish companies with Russian ties are supplying products critical to Russia's military operations. Their clientele includes connections to Russian intelligence and defense sectors. In Finland, numerous enterprises, either led or owned by Russians, have been providing high-tech and other essential military products to Russia during the Ukraine conflict. These businesses have clients with ties to Russian military industry and intelligence agencies such as the FSB. Now, how does this situation happen? Well, some of the Finnish workers who work in these companies don't even know that their company is sending this stuff to Russians. Russian FSB, Russian Orthodox Church, they are both Russian spy networks with incredible reach all across the globe. And huge amounts of money will be going through them. And if you have money, you will always have people who are interested in working for you. It doesn't matter if it's in Finland or if it's in South America. Why I'm telling about this is I want to guide light to this situation. We have the same issue in Estonia, actually, the same issue in Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland. The more we shed light onto it, the more it has to disappear, the more we destroy this bypassing of the sanctions. Now, my friends, we're talking about sanctions. How do we even know they are effective? How do we know they work? Well, data, specific data. And they don't show specifically on the Russian economy macro data, because the Russian economy has been not growing but falling much less than the Western analysts projected. It has been very stable, but that's because they have gone over to the military economy, military procurement. Factories are working 3 shifts, forcing out products, which keeps the economy stable. But that's a short-term solution. How do we really know the Russian economy is crumbling or shaking, or the foundation of it might be crumbling? Well, it's data. The Russian government has hidden a vast amount of data from the public in an apparent attempt to conceal the impact of the war in Ukraine. An analysis shows that almost 500 datasets have been removed since February 2022, covering everything from weather to state pensions. The Russian publication, to be precise, reports that at least 44 government bodies have stopped publishing data, with some statistical platforms being taken down entirely. The law was changed in February 2023 to allow the government to stop publishing state statistics. I just want to open up a little bit how data not directly connected to war or military at all would show the weakening of the Russian economy. Let's take the fact of the heat pipes bursting right now in Russia. It's a humanitarian catastrophe in Russia. It's not just, oh, this water pipe burst. It's a whole Russian Federation-wide 140 million people affecting catastrophe. Soon to be millions of people are without heating, and it's -20, -30 in some cities. Now, why is it connected? Well, this would happen in any state in the Eastern Europe and in Russia if there would be -30 in Celsius. If this happens in Estonia, for example, it happens. Poof, the water goes. It's grandiose geyser into the air. People film it, put it online. 1 or 2 days later, it will be fixed because Estonia has meant to fix it. There are companies. It's a free capitalist market, meaning there are many, many companies who compete for the job to fix these heat pipes that have been broken. In Russia, the situation is different. First of all, a huge amount of men has been sent to war because Putin gave quotas to big companies, which include the companies who fix infrastructure, let's say electrical and piping services. They had quotas to send their workers to the front, workers who exactly were in the list to be fast responders if this stuff happens, if electrical faults happen or water pipe bursts. Now there's a huge lack of these repairmen. And now combine that lack of repairmen with the vastly cold winter in Russia. Pipes burst, happens everywhere, but now you cannot repair it. Now suddenly people are without heating for 2 weeks already in some settlements. People are beginning to die and getting frostbite. Russian hospitals are receiving these patients. It can't snowball. A small thing like that can snowball into something much bigger. And it shows greatly the effect of the war to Russian economy. Now that's the effect of the war. What about the effect of the sanctions? Well, in the example of Siberian Airlines, one of the biggest Siberian airlines in Russia, they are operating small planes which fly across Siberian cities, transporting, Russians and non-Russians across these cities because it's a huge, vast land they cannot really drive. These planes are over 50 years old, half a century old. They're from the 70s. Now, the head of this specific airline said that we must replace these planes because they are old and they're very dangerous. This must be the last year they fly. But then directives came from Putin. This happened during the last week. Directives came from Putin that no plane will be taken off the service because we don't have anything to replace it with. These planes must remain in the air. That's his political order, because if he takes these planes off and doesn't replace them, Russians cannot fly across cities. Therefore, they see the effect of the sanctions because sanctions don't allow Western plane parts to be sent to Russia. So, to hide the effect of the sanctions, Putin gives out this political order to keep these old, half-a-century-old planes in the air, which are incredibly dangerous. And this is why in 2023 we saw Russian plane incidents triple compared to 2022 and 2021, triple. And these are incidents with injured and even casualties. And they will triple in the next year and so on. So Putin is trying to hide with political incentives, political orders from the Tsar, trying to hide the effect of the sanctions by hiding data and keeping old planes in the air, keeping old trains running, keeping old factories running, not fixing these old pipes that feed hot water to the apartment buildings, but sending the guys who should replace them to the front and stealing the money. I mean, the officials steal the money that goes to the repairment of these pipes. It's corruption. And this is how we know sanctions and the effect of this war to the Russian economy is insanely vast. But Putin has done a great job to hide it. But the effect is there. My friends, this is Fail Alisionov. Now, he was tried in Russia because he's a non-ethnic Russian. He's a non-Russian, actually, in Russia. And there's a lot of people like that. And he was promoting his language, his culture, non-ethnic Russian language and culture, which Russia wants to kill off. Now, he was sent to prison to 5 years. It just came out. And his people don't like that at all. We get 5,000 people in front of the courthouse protesting against this decision. And it's basically their representative in the Russian Federation being sent to prison because he represents that culture. Him being sent to prison is much like Russia just deciding to kill off your language and culture. Now, why do I show this? Because this is the one and only protest right now going on in Russia, in all of Russia. And this is being put down by force. I'll get to the clips later. The Russian police is using pepper spray. They're using riot police with shields and heavy equipment. Of course, this protest will be put down. This will not be a revolution. But it's the only one we have right now. This is why I'm sharing this. So this is the end of yet another non-Russian ethnic minority who has their own language, culture, heritage and traditions, and you can see how Putin cracks down on them. This is a full military geared riot police being sent with shields to disband these 5,000 people who just want to exist in their own culture space. This is how Putin reacts. And as we can see, this Georgi's pattern, very Russian military pattern right here. Georgi lint in Estonia we call it, George's colors. If you see this, you know you're dealing with a full pro-Russia, pro-Putin person. This is a symbol of war and aggression. And my friends, I will continue on the Russia is freezing shenanigans because that is the truth. This is Nizhny Novgorod, a city in Russia, and as you can see, it's minus 15 Celsius. It's incredibly cold, but the streets are filled with burning hot water and it's steaming. I mean, it's minus 15, right? But if you go into this water, you get burns. You get cold burns on your head because it's cold, and you get hot burns on your feet because it's burning, boiling hot water. The heat pipe burst. The water fell to the streets, damaging all of the vehicles, and some people actually got the burns. About 10 people were hospitalized because of hot water burns and the steam burns. And also, when this water cools off, which happens really fast because it's extremely cold, it will immediately turn into a sheet of ice about this thick. No car, no human can walk across that with great speed. So it's a horrible disaster, not only affecting the apartment buildings that now are without heating, which is already deadly, but also the traffic is pretty much screwed because it's pure ice and the cars will be frozen inside this ice this thick. It's like they have a river now that will freeze inside the city. Look how it's flowing. It is a disaster involving almost every city in Russia. It's a humanitarian crisis, and Putin is just ignoring it as of now. My friends, now my favorite part of the video, which is butchering the Patreon names, and today we only have 4. I couldn't get 5 names, but if you want to be the 5th one, become a sergeant of Artur's army in the description below. De Mario Joken. ian.ross@emedianhouse.com. Robert Franklin Tunake Jr. Putkalme Rob. Sven Ingeskogvuel. Thank you to these 4 sergeants of Artur's army. Links in the description below. Thank you, my friends. Until my next update, which will be tomorrow. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.